All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. Um, and I just wanted to do a few brief housekeeping things just at the top here. Um, if you are here and you have a question, please make sure to drop it into the Q&A widget instead of the chat. We'll use the chat to drop links, and you can, of course, use the chat to talk to each other. But please use the Q&A widget to ask any questions that you may have for us all. That way we can keep track of them and make sure that we've got them all in one place. Yes, that's the little housekeeping I have at the top. Also, we are recording this webinar, and so we will have this up in the help tab for PatronManager. Clients will have this up in our help tab in the next day or so for you all to access or to share with other people if you need to, if anyone wasn't able to make it. Without further ado, my name is Liz Bernardo Stewart. I'm an implementation manager here at Leap Patron Management. Leap Patron Management is a software, a CRM software built on the Salesforce platform that allows you to look holistically at your patron, donor, and much more data all in one place. And with that, I'm going to hand things off to Natasha.
Thanks, Liz. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this session today. I'm super excited. I'm actually going to be moderating today. You are at Stories from a Thriving Theater. In case you're confused where you are, you're in the right place, I promise. And we have an incredible session for y'all today. I am Natasha, as Liz said. I work for CourseStorm, which is, if you're not familiar with us, we do class and camp registration software, enrollment management, and marketing tools for arts organizations. That's our sweet spot. We work with hundreds of arts organizations, theaters, performing arts centers, visual arts centers around the country, including Raleigh Little Theatre, who we have here today. I lead marketing at CourseStorm, and most of my role revolves around understanding the challenges and opportunities that arts leaders are facing, and developing helpful tools and resources to help folks do their jobs better. And in doing that, I get to have a lot of conversations with organizations like Raleigh Little Theatre and like all of yours to learn what's working, what's not working. And we're going to have one of those conversations live today. So I am going to pass it over to the Raleigh Little Theatre team. But before I do, I love to do a icebreaker question when we're starting a panel like this. These sessions can always have a little bit of nerves, but we're here to just chat and learn and share together. So the question I have for everyone today is, when did you first fall in love with the arts? There's an assumption built in, but I'm assuming everyone here has some love for the arts. And I will kick it off, and I'm going to kick it back to you, Liz, after I answer because you didn't get to answer. So, my aunt took me to see Phantom of the Opera on Broadway when I was probably like 7, and it was so spectacular and big. And I was like, oh, what are these people doing? What is this a job? Like, how do you get to do this? And I have vivid memories of the chandelier like being lowered onto the when it's falling, and just thinking it was the most incredible thing I had ever seen. And I'm still an avid consumer of arts and theater and performance across all spectrums. And I'm so pleased to work in an industry where I get to spend time with folks who are facilitating art. Um, Liz, I'll pass it back to you to answer the question, and then we'll pass it to the Raleigh Little Theater team to introduce themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I fell in love with the arts when I was 5 or 6. I went to go see Beauty and the Beast on Broadway with my parents, and Beauty and the Beast was my favorite movie because I love to read. And then when I saw the magic live, I was absolutely floored. And since then have loved theater, music of all kinds. And that was kind of how I got into the arts.
Amazing. Also, for those of you who are attending this session, if you want to share your love of art stories in the chat, please do share with us. Okay, now without any further ado, I will finally pass it to the Raleigh Little Theater team. And I think we'll start with Tara. If you want to introduce yourself, that would be amazing.
Hello, everyone. I am Tara Hodge. I am the Director of Education here at Raleigh Little Theatre. And my love of the arts actually started in public education. It started in school. So my first exposure to theater was in assembly. going and seeing theater programs brought into the school and seeing amazing performers and an assembly with my peers. And it's like, oh, I can do that. And I was very fortunate to go to an elementary school that had a thriving theater program. So I got into that program and never stopped since.
That's awesome, Tara, and such a good tee up for some of what we're going to talk about today, the intersection of theater, education, how they play together. Mercedes, what about you?
Hi everyone, I'm Mercedes. I'm the box office supervisor at Raleigh Little Theatre. One of the most memorable moments when I fell in love with the arts was when I was 3 years old, probably 3.5, and at a local high school, they were putting on Midsummer Night's Dream, and my dad worked at that high school, so they invited me to be one of the little fairies, and I just remember putting on my costume and having it made for me and feeling so beautiful. So that was a cherished memory for me, being able to dress up and be transformed into a new world.
That's incredible. Oh my gosh. Thank you all for sharing. And those of you in the chat, keep them coming throughout the session. We love to see it. Okay, I want to start off our conversation today just by setting the stage a little bit around Raleigh Little Theatre and how y'all are structured. So I've had the opportunity to spend a little bit of time with both of you, Tara and Mercedes. And in one of our conversations, you described Raleigh Little Theatre as a teaching theater. And I would love to hear a little bit more about why you're structured that way, what that means to you, and the types of programs you're running, just to give the audience a sense of who you are as an organization. And this is open to either of you. Feel free to jump in at any point.
Yeah, I can start. So one of the things that makes Raleigh Little Theatre a teaching theater is opening up a lot of opportunities to our community to get involved at a low stakes level. This both includes the classes that we have here at Raleigh Little Theatre, but also our volunteer opportunities, including being able to be involved in the front of house, in crew, administratively, or in the education department as well. We have many volunteer opportunities, and that way people can learn in a low stakes environment about what it is to put on a show, all the things that go into it, from the administrative side to the production side of things. The other way that Raleigh Little Theatre shows it is a teaching theater is that it is open to diverse audiences of different ages. And one of the programs that has been introduced at Raleigh Little Theatre is the Theater for the Very Young program. And that is a way for us to engage with ages 0 through 4 and kind of teach them how to be an audience member with performances that are sensory friendly and allow the kiddos to get up, move around, and be more interactive. And then another example I would say as well is our Teens on Stage program, which Tara might be able to speak a little bit more about, as a conservatory program that includes performances. Did you want to add anything, Tara?
Yeah, I would everything that Mercedes said, and we're a community theater, been around since 1936. So the origins of the theater it came out of friends getting together, wanting to perform, wanting to learn how to do something and to entertain. So keeping that mission going to use theater to enrich, educate, entertain, engage volunteers, students, and audiences of all ages. We want to be a welcoming place at, as Mercedes would say, at any level, you can come to the theater and be involved in some aspect. If it's not on stage, front of house. If it's not building the set in the scene shop or building costumes in the costume shop, and you just want to have fun, we get a lot of adult students that just want to tap into their creativity, come take a class. So there's a lot of opportunities to learn here. And you learn a lot from doing a production. And then, of course, you learn in education classes.
Oh my gosh, there's so much good stuff in what both of y'all just shared that I'm excited to like double click into. But just to give folks on the call a sense of the size of the programs that y'all are running, because I know, it's always helpful to take tips from programs that kind of look similar. Tara, Mercedes, in the numbers, how many classes, camps, and how many live performances are y'all running per year?
Okay, I actually took
And
down
if
some
you got-
numbers because it's a lot. We do a lot here at Raleigh Little Theatre. On the education side, we run 4 sessions. So each session we host 10 youth classes
Okay.
and 3 adult classes. So 13 classes each, and they run 6 weeks. And then we also have school programs. So we do in-school residencies, we do field trips where students come to us, take a tour, do a workshop with us. And I love that we do theatrical training for professional development. So we go to different organizations and do some professional development. We also have school matinees where students can come here to see a show. And then the summer, we bust at the seams during the summer. We have, as Mercedes was saying, our Teens on Stage, Teens Backstage program, which is a 5-week intensive where students come and they literally put together a show, all the while learning how to better their craft, whether it's on stage or behind the scenes. And last summer, I'm so proud of the show that we produced, and I got the opportunity to direct the show. We did Hadestown, the teen edition. So it was amazing just to see what the students can do. So we have that wonderful program that happens during the summer. In addition to, we have over 12 summer camps, youth summer camps, whether it's a 2-week camp or a 1-week camp, and it's ages from pre-K all the way through high school. So those are some of the things we do over the summer. And then we also have our adult summer intensives that happen during the summer as well. So that's on the education side. Do you
Yeah.
want to speak to performance?
Yeah.
Oh no. It looks like we might have lost your sound, Mercedes.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're back. Woo.
Oh.
A quick one.
It was my internet. So as far as live performances, this year we have 11 live performances, 3 of which are part of our Theater for the Very Young program. 3 are part of our family series, and then the remaining shows are part of our adult series. And last year we had about 20,000 audience members come to our theater, and about 900 volunteers with us. So we do have a huge reach, even though we are a little theater.
Oh no. Lost you again.
You went out again at Mercedes.
Move because of my Wi-Fi in the box.
No problem. Feel free to fit. I think you're back now.
Okay, so we have about 20,000 audience members that come each year, and about 900 volunteers with us. And as far as our live performances, about 12 each year, including 3 for the very young, 3 for children, and then the rest for adults.
Awesome.
And just to add some numbers, because Mercedes gave numbers, so I was like, let me give some numbers. There were 70 on the 23-24 season. There were 74 classes, camps, and workshops, 80 plus field trip opportunities, 29 over, I want to say, over 7,000 children and youth were reached. And
Wow. Wow.
And I'm pretty sure that's with school matinees and school programs and camps and classes and everything.
Yeah, so like no big deal. You're running like a very chilled program. No, y'all are doing a ton. And that segues really nicely into my next question and why we're here. Raleigh Little Theater is clearly thriving. Like in terms of what you're putting out into the world, it's a lot, it's dynamic. And so we'd love to hear, I think, as a group, when you think about, oh, and also y'all mentioned that Raleigh Little Theater is expanding. I believe your growth
Oh,
has
yeah.
out of your current building. So lots of good stuff happening. And I'd love to hear, and we'll start with you, Tara, because I know Mercedes is on the move. Um,
Mhm.
when you think about the primary things that have contributed to your success, um, what comes to mind? What's top of mind? What can you share?
Community focus, really meeting the needs of the community, really engaging your volunteers, engaging parents through our evaluations, surveys, really tapping into what people want for us programming, what type of shows. And this is a place where anybody can be involved. If you want to help decide the shows on the upcoming season, you can come be a part of the play reading committee. So it's really listening to the voices of the community so that engagement is there in what we do.
Yeah, that's awesome. Mercedes, did you hear the question while you were on the move? You want me to repeat?
Yes, I did. Thank you so much. I just wanted to add that another thing I think works really well here at Raleigh Little Theater is we honor the idea that artists can be involved in multiple ways, whether as a playwright, an actor, in the front of house. Anyone who's a part of the performing industry knows that they have to be adaptable and versatile. And so we allow people who work here to be involved in multiple different ways. I have a box office associate who works with me who also stage manages and works in the costume shop. So you really aren't limited to learn one track. You can learn as as many things as you really want to here. And in that way, not only do the programs work together, but the same people might be involved in different capacities as well.
So cool. And I'm like so thrilled to hear you talk a little bit. Tara, you mentioned like one of the programs that actually incorporate community feedback into how you operate. Often we talk about feedback in sort of abstract terms, but it can be hard to put it into action. So you mentioned the play reading program where community members can come and like get involved in what's actually chosen for the season. And it's things like that, I think, that really take programs to an organizations to a different level where the community feels truly involved and heard.
Yes, and I want to say we definitely empower the volunteers to take ownership of a lot of things that's done here. So it's really, I love seeing when volunteers take they lead the the programs, they lead things that that's happening. What was it? Pumpkin like carving
They
thing
were
that just
painting
recently happened here.
pumpkins.
Us.
Yeah.
So
So that
fun.
was cool.
Amazing. Yeah, a lot of what y'all have shared. So at CourseStorm, we have kind of a framework that we've built based on so many conversations and just working with organizations like yours for a long time. Um, for a thriving we focus on education, but I think they can be applied to organizational health in general. And the first one is like being rooted in and connected to community. How are your offerings rooted in and connected to your community? How are you really serving, like marrying the unique things that your organization cares about, your mission, where you come from, your history, with what your unique community wants, needs, their preferences, their lifestyles, like who they are. And that is really the thing that we see set programs apart. Um, I am actually, because we just talked about community, I'm going to skip us ahead a little bit to talk about something that's like maybe a little less fun, but is actually so important. So another one of our pillars that we talk about at CourseStorm often is infrastructure, right? Y'all mentioned so many things that you're doing, and you need systems to support those things. And we're going to talk about technology in a minute, but I want to talk first about the importance of integrating your program. So, Mercedes, you're on the box office side, you're in a different part of the organization. Tara, you're thinking about education, but your program, your organization is marrying those programs together in different ways. And I'd love to hear from y'all just how you support that program integration, how the organization supports it, and also, you know, this is always an area of opportunity for organizations. So if you have any thoughts on places that y'all would want to improve at Raleigh Little Theater when you think about integrating your programs, but I'll pass it to you.
Well, I've been here a little over 2 years now, as the director of education. And one thing we've talked a lot about in speaking with our leader, producing artistic director, is making sure we integrate production and education. There's not two separate people, two separate entities. We want to make sure our audiences are taking advantage of our classes, and our classes are participants in our classes are coming to see our shows. So we've been working really hard over the last two years, trying to find ways to connect and do educational programming with production. So I was so excited that our we did Mad Libs Live, which is a musical um, based off of the game Mad Libs, and there's a lot of improvisation in there. So it was like, okay, cool. We're going to offer a family workshop that goes along with Mad Libs. So kind of to prepare you to come see the show a little bit, because it's a lot of audience interaction. You can come, your whole family can come and take this workshop before the show even starts, and then you can go see the show. And it did really well. So things like that we have for our school matinees, working with Mercedes and box office. We have study guides that we send out to schools prior to coming to see a school matinee, so they can do activities related to the show to learn a little bit more about the show before coming. And so we're trying to find ways to, in a lot of ways, we're small staff. There's 11 of us here. So we work really close already. And the things that we do, like our Teens on Stage, Teens Backstage, involve both education and production, because we're putting on a show and then we're taking classes. It's like Mercedes said, we use the same people a lot of times. So you don't have to follow one track. One person is not just production. Or we'll have like our technical director taught one of our classes in our creative team workshop series, where you can learn how to be a director or stage manager or designer. So that was to help production, to have more emerging artists. And that program specifically is for BIPOC and LGBTQIA plus artists. So more emerging artists in those communities. Mercedes, if you want to add anything.
Honestly, no, I agree with that. The one true example that I've seen in the last couple months, specifically between box office and education, is through that improv workshop and kind of figuring out how we're going to build that into PatronManager in a way that makes sense for both the education and the ticketing side of things, was something that Tara and I collaborated on, and definitely learned a lot from that experience, but it was very successful. So I'm so grateful for all the collaboration at Raleigh Little Theater. Like Tara said, it is a small staff, so we have monthly staff meetings, but there's also check-ins throughout the week. Both anything from how was your weekend to I'm working on this thing. Have you ever done something similar? And do you have any advice for me? So we really do value that here.
Okay, you just started to answer a follow-up question that I had, Mercedes. So there are a couple of things that I heard. Tara, you mentioned like a mandate from the top of like these programs are going to be integrated. And that's another one of the pillars that we see making organizations really successful, is like at the top, at the board level, at the executive level, there is agreement that we want to operate in a certain way. We want these programs to build on each other. We're not going to operate in silos. And that's really important because that allows staff to like freely find ways to collaborate and to pilot projects and to try things, because it's known across the board, like this is what we're doing. And that permission, that buy-in at the leadership level is so important. You also mentioned this sort of collaborative environment, being a small team. I'd love to hear, like, in the moments where y'all have found the opportunities to collaborate, like what has that looked like? Mercedes, you mentioned check-ins, staff meetings. Is that usually where that collaboration happens of just like, this is what's going on? Is it kind of more ad hoc, or is there anything else in place that sort of facilitates that collaboration?
Well, one of the examples of collaboration definitely would be the student matinees. That's something that education and the production side of things work very closely on. And so, as far as the curtain speech, because there are going to be schools in the audience, it's definitely something that education works on to target those specific groups, not only for coming back to other student matinees, but coming back for classes or residencies or for field trips as well. So that is one way. It is through our student matinees, making sure that education is very much involved, because those are groups that both sides do need to work with for various different things going on at the theater. And then just like a weird thing that happened yesterday, not necessarily weird, but we're working on getting cubbies for the theater. And this is something that could help multiple different areas. I have ushers who, they come and they don't have a place to put their stuff. Tara has teaching artists and teaching assistants. They come and they don't have a designated place to put their stuff. So that is one initiative that brings in multiple different teams for their input of, where should we put the lockers? Do we like these lockers? Is this a nice color? And even though it seems a little bit arbitrary to decide, oh, do we like this color, it is also a way for everyone to be involved and in what we're doing to make things easier across the board for everyone.
I love that example.
And can I add, our space is big, but then it's small in a way. We're close to each other in the building. Sometimes it's just walking down the hallway to say, hey, I have a question about this. So it doesn't always have to be very formal. And we share the space. So we have to communicate. We have to communicate about, I have a class going on and it's happening in a theater and they're building in the theater. So it's like, when is your work call? When can I do? So it's like, it's already built in because we're sharing a space that we have to communicate very often. And just this morning, our volunteer coordinator was meeting with someone about inclusion in classes. So I saw them walk past. I was like, well, if you want to do classes or trainings and stuff like that, let me know. But that was a part of the conversation that they were having, not only just for volunteering in one aspect or, hey, just come work front of house. It was like, how can you address needs of the entire theater? So I think, as Mercedes was saying, thinking about the lockers, it wasn't just thinking, how can it benefit the theater program? Same thing, TBY, Theater for the Very Young, when it came to, oh, we need flex seating in our pre-K programs, instead of sitting in chairs, let's get some flex seating to sit on the floor. But hey, we're also doing TBY, Theater for the Very Young, and let's order enough that will be enough to have for performances and for classes. So we collaborate and overlap on a lot of things that we do here.
I'm so glad you shared that, both of you, because you're touching on something that I think is like, we can get really caught in the idea of building process, feel like we need it. And I think there are times where we need it, and there are times when we don't, and we can rely on a culture that we've created. And that sort of scales if you're a massive staff with many members on the team, you likely need more actual process to facilitate this type of collaboration. But when you're a small team, in a space together, you maybe don't need to worry so much about process. What you maybe need to worry more about is culture, and how you create a culture that brings everyone in and encourages that type of like, oh, let me stretch over to you and grab you for this and like ask you about this. So for y'all, that culture of collaboration and like kind of holistic thinking that I'm hearing, Tara, when you think about like sort of what's going to benefit the whole theater, where do you feel like that comes from? Big question, and sort of a random one.
I mean, I think the nature of theater, like being theater artists. I think it's the nature of you can't have a successful production or theater program without building your ensemble. So it's all about those relationships, building those relationships, being able to collaborate and communicate effectively. So I think it's like, because we are a theater company, it's kind of, and most people here have some kind of background in taking theater and theater classes, that's like the foundation of, a class. We do check-ins. Every class we start with how, like we checked in today. And yes, I love that. You can't have a successful production without building your ensemble. And so I think that's where it's rooted in.
That's awesome. Mercedes, did you have anything you wanted to add? A different perspective on culture?
Well, I think having worked in both the professional and community theater spaces, I definitely see a difference in the culture here as opposed to a few professional theaters that I was able to work in. And I do think that because we are more community focused, we want to build a strong community within the staff. And also just us having a smaller staff, it's not as segmented, right? So it's not that you have a marketing department. We have a marketing department of one person, right? We have a box office department of a few people. We have the education department of a few people. And just because of that community aspect, I do think at the root of Raleigh Little Theater is community. I have seen in theater spaces things becoming competitive, but I think at the bottom line of Raleigh Little Theater and why it was built is for collaboration, is for education, and as opposed to offering a competitive space, which can sometimes be seen in the theater world as well too.
Yeah. Yeah. Which brings us back to kind of the core, right? The importance of like having a clear mission as an organization, having clarity on who you are as an organization, and that's validated in different places, ideally including your leadership and staff. Um, Before we move into technology, because we do have a question on tech and we're going to talk a little bit about tech, I wanted to go back to when we think about program integration and education feeding theater or performance feeding education. When you were talking about your theater for the very young program, Mercedes, I think you said something that was like building the audiences of the future, or something akin to that, of the importance of getting people into classes, especially young people, to keep the love of art alive. And I was wondering if both of you, one of you, wanted to speak a little bit to that thought and the importance of that motion.
Can I talk about it? Because I do think it kind of tracks with my story is as being a part of Raleigh Little Theater. Um, Actually, when I was a little kid, similar to Holly, I did go to performances with my grandfather at Raleigh Little Theater, and then was able to be involved in classes as both a student and a teaching artist to now becoming a staff member. So I do definitely see that trajectory of introducing the arts young to encourage folks to pursue a professional career in the arts as well. And that definitely tracks with my own personal story and involvement with Raleigh Little Theater.
That's so cool. We talk a lot about involving full families in organizations and how classes and camps and workshops can help you sort of hit that entry point in a different way. And that's such a cool story. There's such a multi-generational reach for you personally and Raleigh Little Theater. Mercedes, thank you for sharing. Tara, did you have anything you wanted to add or share?
Just to Yeah, the multi-generational, we have something for everybody here.
Mhm.
So there's shows for everybody. And I think TVY was that one missing piece that we had. We didn't have shows for very young. So parents that was like, I want to take my kid to a show, but I'm a little nervous. They're going to run around and, be distracting. But that's what we encourage in those shows. So we're going zero all the way. Like, so we have the whole lifespan of opportunities to do things here at Raleigh Little Theater. Even our education starts at, beyond the TBY, but taking a class starts at 2 years old. So there's a lot of opportunity to reach the entire family and get involved and then grow throughout the process. Try different things, whether you're starting as like I used to bring my students here. Prior to coming here, I was a middle school teacher, and I used to bring my students to the matinees all the time. So I was a supporter of Raleigh Little Theater. I would bring my students to the matinees. I directed here before I worked here, so I directed shows here. I performed on the stage here, and so there's many opportunities and many roles and many different hats I've been in just in this one place. So there's no getting bored when it comes to doing theater here at Raleigh Little Theater.
This is something we're not going to touch on too much today. We are going to go to tech after this, I promise. But you're both mentioning like all of these different touch points and I'm a brand person, I'm in marketing, so I think about this stuff a lot. But what I think of brand really is relationship building. And when you can meet people at multiple different points in multiple different ways and meet the people that they care about, you're both examples of like advocates for Raleigh Little Theater. You experienced Raleigh Little Theater and now you both work there. Like that's an organization making a really powerful connection with an individual. And that is also a huge piece of how organizations thrive, is like, how are we reaching people in multiple ways to build a strong connection so that they will advocate for us and go on webinars and talk about how great our theater is. Okay. Let's talk about the nitty-gritty of technology, because when we talk about program integration, we've talked about culture, we've talked about some of the supports that can help, but technology is a big piece of that. And at CourseStorm, we talk to a lot of arts organizations, and many of them are still using or are relying on one solution to try to do everything, including classes and camps. And at a certain scale, that often just doesn't work anymore. At Raleigh Little Theater, obviously, you use both CourseStorm and Leap Patron Management. And I'd love to hear a little bit about why you decided to use both two solutions to do these two things, and maybe some things about each platform that save you time, that make your life easier, and how the platforms work together. And then I think Liz will give us a little bit of a high level on the actual integration, because CourseStorm and PatronManager do integrate. Um, and Tara, there's a question in the Q&A panel that we may be able to answer in this question.
Okay.
David asked how you use CourseStorm to manage such robust offerings, like robust education offerings. So there was a lot in that question, but I'll pause and invite you both to share.
I can start on the CourseStorm side of things. And so CourseStorm, I kind of inherited CourseStorm, so it was already in place when I started here, and it was very easy to navigate. So all the many different programs we have, you can structure it in a way in this software or the program that you don't have to look at it all at one time and get overwhelmed at one time. So you can set up, is it a catalog?
Yeah.
Set up different catalogs so I like to set up different sessions. So session 1 is a catalog, session 2, session 3, session 4, and I can look and do registration that way. I love the feature of when you're building a class, inputting a class, you can, instead of having to type all the information over again, you could just duplicate, just make a duplicate and change minor things. So it's not very time consuming to put all the information in there. And my favorite feature is the forms. You get to customize forms, so you get to ask the questions that you want to ask. Are there any accommodations that's needed, especially for our summer camp, medical information, emergency contacts? So that saves us a lot of time when you're trying to create spreadsheets and forms and things like that. So we have those, you can just export them right out of CourseStorm. And the same thing for budgeting and our accounting. You can, when you get your reports, you can just export right out of CourseStorm as well and send that over to your accountant for those things. So CourseStorm is really, it's really manageable. It organizes it in a way, and I really, like I said, I really love the catalogs that separate it out. And you can, oh, my other feature I like, you can set it up to take payments, or you can get all the payments before the first class, and then you can do wait list. So summer camps is a big one where people do a deposit, so you can make it so that they require a deposit, and then sometimes they pull out. But instead of trying to put it back on your marketing, like, hey, we have an open spot, you already have a list, a wait list people, and then all you have to do is send an invite for them to, and you can set it up how long they have to reply, 24 hours, 48 hours, and then that way you don't have to keep trying to figure out like market the program. You can start a wait list. And then it'll tell you if you can set it up if you need a minimum of students to enroll. It will say that on the registration site that says, hey, this class will run, or this it'll say if it is not running yet.
That's
So
great.
those are just some of my key features that I like about CourseStorm.
Well, it's great to hear as someone who works at CourseStorm. And you mentioned a couple of features, Tara, that I think are really popular, especially if you're doing youth programming, like the forms that collect the information that you need at the right time, so you don't have to chase parents, like waitlisting for camps. We're working with a bunch of orgs who are in summer camp planning season. I'm sure y'all are too, because it starts early, so it's top of mind right now. And there was one other thought I had that I'm blanking on now. So Mercedes, I would love to invite you to share about LEAP patron management and what is super beneficial to you with patron. And then Liz can jump in and talk us through a little bit of about the integration.
Okay. Let me know if you remember your note, and I'd be happy to step aside it. I think similarly in PatronManager, there is a way to duplicate performances, which has been so helpful. So I don't have to build in each ticketing. So, the senior price every single time, the student price every single time, I can just duplicate each event, which is really, really helpful. And saves me a lot of time in terms of building in ticketable events. So that seems very similar to CourseStorm. In addition, the reporting is so amazing because there are many options for reporting. You can pull daily reports, you can pull weekly reports, you can pull monthly reports, you can pull between a custom range. And there is a feature there too where you can automatically email reports to yourself. So the way that me and our marketing director tracks ticket sales is through those automated reports. We get daily sales reports and we get performance reports so that we can see every single day how the show is progressing and know, okay, do we need to pivot our marketing strategy based on how these ticket sales are performing. So that is a super helpful feature. And then one other thing for anyone who is on our mailing list, anyone who has taken a class here, anyone who's made a donation, or anyone who has seen a show here, they all have one account. And so you can really go into each account and see how many ways one individual has been involved in Raleigh Little Theater. In addition to that, someone who has taken a class, you can see, oh, this is this age range. Okay, let's market towards the people who went to this class, this family show that would be within the age range of the audience we're trying to reach. And so in that way, having a robust set of contacts that you can market for either the classes or even trying to get them to be a donor or trying to get them to come to a show. That saves a lot of time too, because we don't have to look in different softwares. Okay, is this the same person? You know, it's already all filtering into the same system, which is really helpful.
Yep, yep. I'm sure Liz will talk a little bit more about this, but Mercedes, you just hit on like when we talk about purpose-built point solutions like CourseStorm and patron management, organizations still need a centralized source of truth. You still need like a single patron record so that you can do exactly the things that you can market to them smartly. You can talk to them with all the information. And so that is why it's so important that these programs integrate, because that is where a lot of growth comes from, is from things that feel personalized and relevant to the folks that you're sending to. The other thing I remembered my thought, Tara, when you were talking. The other benefit, I think, of purpose-built solutions like CourseStorm for classes and camps, patron management for ticketing, is that it saves you time on all the little things that like aren't quite right. Like you're like, I can hack this, but at a certain point, you're spending so much time hacking small things, and you're just like, why am I doing this way? It doesn't have to be like this, and it really doesn't. And at a certain scale, it shouldn't. Y'all are a small team, a team of 11 executing so much. And so this is really about smart technology that can like save you real time.
And that's one of the things we talked about when we did the improv workshop. Do we do it through CourseStorm or do we do it through PatronManager? But we didn't need a lot of information because they're not gonna be with us for 6 weeks, or we didn't need all of those things. So it was like, okay, we can go. They'll be with their parents already. Because they're coming as a family, so we can go through PatronManager for those that add-on, and it was easier to just put it on the add-on once they purchase a ticket.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Okay, Liz, I'd love to hear from you if you can talk us through just at a high level the integration.
Yeah, absolutely. So at a high level, the integration is called PatronStorm, Patron Manager, and CourseStorm together. And as both Mercedes and Tara have mentioned, and Natasha as well, they integrate. So the information, you build your course catalog in CourseStorm, and that information syncs to Patron Manager. So as Mercedes said, you get the one patron record in Patron Manager, but you can see what classes they registered for. And you can see the answers to those custom questions that Tara mentioned um, when they were registering for classes. And then that allows you to pull one report from the source of truth of the contact in Patron Manager so that you can effectively market to them. And the integration is one way. So it goes from CourseStorm into Patron Manager, and then you'll run your reports, things like that in Patron Manager to do marketing or outreach or, try to get them to be a donor, that sort of thing. I will drop some links in the chat in case anyone wants to go more in depth, but that's kind of the high level overview is that information syncs from CourseStorm into Patron Manager, and then you can pull reports and you can get a 360 view of your patrons and community, really.
Yeah. Thank you, Liz. And
Yeah.
for anyone who does have questions or wants to dig deeper in this, we'll be following up after the webinar. So there'll be plenty of opportunity for y'all to dig in as needed. Okay. I was like, this webinar will be 30 minutes. We've talked for 50. I do want to open it up. I want to open it up with our last few minutes here. If anyone has questions, anyone in the audience, and David, I just wanted to make sure that we answered your question, or if you had any more specific questions, feel free to ask them. If there are no questions, we'll pause for a few minutes or a few seconds. Okay, David says thank you. I'm assuming that means got an answer, which is awesome. Okay, we have a couple coming in. Great. Okay. One person asked, how do you plan your class offerings? Do you seek community input?
Yes, that is definitely one of our evaluations from people that's taking classes. We ask like, what classes would you like to see? Or I like to research and see what is popular out in the community. And sometimes I will try out something, and sometimes it lands, and sometimes it's like, oh, that's not really where we are. So I, allow space to fail. Not want to say fail, but what's another way to say was it the right fit? Wasn't the right fit for Raleigh Little Theatre. So yes, do surveys, try to give classes that people are talking about.
Cool. So Terry, you mentioned surveys. You mentioned also just kind of research
Mm-hmm.
in your own world of like what's going on out there. What are people asking about? What are people curious about? I just shared an article in the chat that we launched recently that has some best practices, including this, gathering feedback, paying attention to broader trends. There are some hacks in there on like, there are always these different reports coming on. I really love Pinterest's annual report, which doesn't necessarily seem applicable, but all of a sudden you're like, oh, everyone's into collage right now. Maybe we like everyone's into this certain musical right now. Maybe we think about how we can tap into that. Awesome. Okay. We have another question from Susan. Okay, this is a revenue question, so if there are things that y'all don't feel like you can answer here, that's totally fine, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Susan is curious about Raleigh Little Theater's revenue model, so the percentage of income that comes from class and camp registrations versus ticket sales and donations. So maybe not in the weeds, but if you have an idea high level, like what the split is.
So, from I we I know how much, we make across our ticket sales, but as far as how that compares to the other departments, that's not information that I have access to. However, what I will say is that all sources of income do come together as important for us to sustain our efforts. If I had to guess, then I would say that donations and granting is definitely the highest source of income, followed by ticketing, followed by classes. I don't know if this is something that Tara can speak to in your experience here.
Well, I would just say we do receive quite a bit of funding from grantors. We do City of Raleigh, United Arts Council, so we have a lot of those grants, and we continuously are looking for more of those opportunities, especially as education continues to grow. We do get a lot of funding to support some programs. For example, we have this adult series where we don't charge, so there is no tuition. But it's our creative team workshop series and our new voices workshop series. So for emerging playwrights and emerging directors, set designers and stage managers, and that's grant funded. So we are constantly looking for opportunities to fund some of those things. But as Mercedes said, yes, we do receive revenue from tuition, classes and camps, and ticket sales as well. And we have our annual fundraiser, Divas, along with our donors.
Awesome. Well, thank y'all for sharing. Susan, I know that wasn't a super detailed answer to your question, but hopefully gives you an idea of the breakdown. Mercedes, were you gonna add something?
Oh, no, I mean, there are financial reports that you can look up in the past, but as far as our current budget, that's not something that we can really speak to right now, because as a nonprofit organization, we do have to disclose that information. So if you want to look up, the financial reports as to how it shaped up for the last couple of years, you're more than welcome to do that as well.
Thank you for that reminder, Mercedes. Okay, we have one more question and then we'll wrap it up. This one's a nice, robust one. So RLT offers programming for a wide range of audience ages, and I heard you have a community play reading committee to support season planning. Is there a specific ratio of TVY, youth, and older kids programming you aim for each year? Or is this another area where community feedback impacts your season planning in terms of ratios? So I think what is being asked is like, what's the split generally between really like kids programming and really young kids and older youth programming?
Far as productions or just
I think in terms of education, actually maybe everything. Programming is the word. Both. Thanks.
okay. I could say over the 2 years that I've been here is like TBY, we just kind of it's something emerging. I attend the TYA, Theater for Young Audience conference every year. If you haven't gone and you do youth theater, you should always go. It's going to be in Atlanta this in 2026. But the ratio, we have our family series. So our family series is geared towards the older students. So we didn't have anything geared towards younger students. So that's where the TVY came in. But far as the majority of our youth education programs is elementary age.
Okay.
So that K through 5 makes up the majority of our classes. So for example, we'll have like right now we have one pre-K class, but we're thinking about expanding that because TBY did so well. And Mercedes can tell you this, our last production, Wheels on the Bus, sold out every performance. And how many performances was it? Like 20?
There are 13.
13? Oh,
Okay.
13 performances?
Well, 13 days of
13 days.
performances. And then, so yeah, it would be over 20 because we had 2 on some days and 3 on others. So yeah, a lot of performances.
Yeah, I think it was like 24 performances.
That's wild.
Oh,
So it
Megan,
sounds
you're
like-
up here. Our marketing director is up
24.
here.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, thank you, Megan. So, okay, I think what we're really saying here is come hang out with Tara in 2026 at the TYI conference. CourseStorm team will be there too.
Yeah.
And maybe the report will be different since the Theater for Very Young Audiences program is developing. Maybe the ratio will have changed since this webinar.
Yeah, so when I saw that, I was like, oh, we need more pre-K. And then all of our pre-K classes have wait lists now. So before pre-K, like just last year, pre-K was barely making the minimum. But because we added TBY shows and now people are aware that we have this pre-K program, or we have pre-K programs happening, now that is like, okay, next year we should offer more pre-K opportunities.
And that is a great place to end, reiterating the importance of integrating your performances and your education, letting one feed the other, riding the wheels on the school bus momentum to really unlock Theater for Very Young Audiences.
Well, it was actually a city bus. It wasn't a school bus.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification. Okay, y'all, we are right at the hour. I so appreciate everyone joining today. Tara, Mercedes, thank you so much for your time and for sharing all your insights. And Liz, thank you for hosting us. Yeah, just really glad to share space with y'all. And we could talk for a long time about your program, but we will let it come to a natural close.
Well, thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thank you so much for setting this up and all of your organization.
Thank you all so much. This was amazing. I learned so much through this about your programming and ideas.
And I must say, come see Witch. That opens October 24th and runs through November 9th. It's about the devil comes down to take some souls from some people. So it's in the Halloween theme of things. And Megan, if you have any other you want to put in the chat, I was trying to read the description here, but go on the website, RaleighLittleTheatre.org to learn more about it. It's a fantastic show.
I love this. Also, I saw that y'all just got a class registration from Holly.
Yay!
All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see y'all soon.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.